Hey guys, I just want to apologize in advance if I'm using the handheld format again, but that's only because the camera holder that I wanted to get still haven't gotten it yet. Still trying to look for replacements, but like I said, in the meantime, I'm gonna have to be recording this vlog style. So, as many of you guys know, last week, due to that on what's the word after that non-subtle hint of what I'm reviewing this week, I'm going to be reviewing Bloodshot. Now, some of you may be wondering, Bloodshot? What's a Bloodshot? Like Bloodshot Eyes? No, I'm talking about Bloodshot the superhero. Now, I should probably explain. You see, Bloodshot is actually a superhero that was first founded in the time period of the 1990s by Valiant Comics. Now, Valiant Comics was actually a comic book company that like many, like Image Comics, came out during the 1990s. They were responsible for creating such superheroes like Exo Manowar, Harbinger, Archer and Armstrong, Quantum and Woody, and of course, Bloodshot. In fact, I actually have a copy of Exo Manowar issue number 1 all the way back in 2017. I also want to state real quick the fact that I'm very happy that this movie was happening because it was because of that movie that it helped to revitalize my love for Valiant. Very much like how the Sonic movie very much reawakened my love for Sonic, this reawakened my love for Valiant. Because as I'm going through all this stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to forget how much I used to like Valiant comics. I still do, but now I'm almost at that level again where I was like 2-3 years ago, which is actually pretty cool. And this is also the very first Valiant Comics movie that has ever been made. And it is also the directorial debut of David S.F. Wilson. Now, if you don't know who that is, it's okay, because this is, like I said before, this is his first major feature film. Some of the stuff that he's done in the past is that he worked at Blur Studios, which was the production company co-founded by Tim Miller of Deadpool and Terminator Dark Fate fame. I also want to mention real quick that 2020 marks the year of Blur, as we also saw that Sonic the Hedgehog marked the directorial debut of Blur Studio member Jeff Wadlow. So, yeah, it actually is a little cool knowing the fact that, there were 2 directorial debuts from people who worked at Blur. In case you're wondering some of the stuff that David S.F. Wilson did, he worked on the visuals, the trailer for Star Wars The Old Republic 2, or Knights of the Old Republic, or one of the things at least. He worked on the Star Wars trailer. He also worked on a couple of other things, like he also worked on the first episode of Love, Death, and Robots. He actually directed the episode. It was called Sony's Edge, if I remember correctly. And he also helped serve as the visual effects supervisor for Avengers Age of Ultron. So he definitely knows his stuff. But enough about the background of the movie. Let's talk about the actual movie itself. What is the plot? Vin Diesel plays a man called Ray Garrison. Now, Ray was a soldier who had a loving wife. But one day, him and his wife were kidnapped, and they both got killed. But one day, Ray is somehow resurrected. And he is told by Guy Pearce, which I know the fact that the character has a name, but he's essentially just playing Guy Pearce's he's playing the bad guy from Iron Man 3 essentially, but more on that later. He's pretty much telling Ray, look, you got yourself killed. But here at Rising Spirit Technologies, we were able to bring you back to life, but even better than ever. And he shows him that there are now nanites currently coursing through his bloodstream that give him enhanced strength and give him almost instant healing. But Ray doesn't remember much of his past. He doesn't even know his name. He doesn't even know who his wife is. He just kind of doesn't know. But as the time passes, he begins to get flashes of those memories again. And then he realizes what he has to do. So he goes out to kill the man that murdered his wife. And he does so. Or so he thinks. Because, as it turns out, RST's actually been manipulating Ray for a long while now in order to be able to kill former members of their organization that ended up going rogue. And now, as it turns out, these are just implanted memories that they put in Rey's head. Like, the stuff with the wife and him being killed, none of that actually happened. A lot of this other stuff, it never truly did happen. But RST made it so that way Rey will believe it every single time, so they'll be able to kill the targets they want him to. And when Rey ends up finding out about this, he ain't happy. Now, if you are very much new to the whole world of Bloodshot, I understand if you maybe feel a little lost, but I do recommend that if you are interested in the character, I recommend checking out the Bloodshot Definitive Edition trade paperback that Valiant put out a couple months ago, and I also recommend checking out the Bloodshot Reborn storyline, written by one of my all-time favorite writers, Jeff Lemire. Now, if you want to be able to know where specifically, it actually spans a few titles. First, there's Bloodshot Reborn. Then, there's another miniseries called Bloodshot USA that continues on from that. And then finally, it concludes in another series called Bloodshot Salvation. And that'll keep you pretty occupied for the time being. And if you happen to be interested in Bloodshot and really like what Valiant does, then you can check out some of the other stuff, like Harbinger, for example. That's another good one, along with XO Manowar, Archer and Armstrong, and Quantum and Woody. I very much recommend all those books, along with a couple of other things, too, like Unity, Ivar the Time Walker, The Eternal Warrior. Valiant has been known to be, like, if Marvel and DC are the big two, Valiant would be the third. Like, when it comes to just the sheer size of the universe and characters that are in it, Valiant would be number 3, because it's amazing how they're able to have such unique and diverse teams of characters and have them all exist in the same world. It's actually really cool. But anyways, I'm going to go into the actual movie itself now, and normally I would talk about what I liked about the movie first, then I would go into what I didn't like, but I think I'm going to go into what I didn't like about the movie, then I'll go into what I liked. I'm upset the fact that we didn't get to see Bloodshot as Bloodshot for much of the movie, because most of the movie he's just Vin Diesel. And in case you're wondering what he's supposed to look like, Bloodshot's supposed to have pale white skin, he's supposed to have a red circle on his chest, and all the other, and he's supposed to have red eyes. He only has that for like 5 minutes or less, and it's towards the end of the movie. And eventually when he's brought back, he ends up just looking like Vin Diesel again. I very much want it to be a situation in which Wiggins would be like, yeah, sorry, mate, so I'll try to be able to fix it so that way your skin would go back to normal, but you're kind of stuck with the white skin and the pale circle. But other than that, you're perfectly fine. I really wish the fact they would have gone in that direction, but hey, Vin Diesel probably didn't want to have to wear the makeup for it, and he wanted to be able to look more like Vin Diesel, so I can understand that. Another criticism that I did have with it was that the opening was a bit meh, to be honest. It wasn't until sorry about that, everybody, just had something in my throat. It's not coronavirus. I'm perfectly healthy and fine, but anyways. Sorry. It wasn't until Rey eventually eventually got resurrected and got involved at RST that things started to get a little bit more interesting. And then when it's revealed what's going on, that's when things get really good. But yeah, I also feel like the fact that there were one too many jokes in there that I really wish the fact that maybe could have been cut. And it also kind of feels like with the editing of this movie, it very much feels like a lot may or may not have been left on the cutting room floor. And I also really wish the fact that this movie would have been rated R too, because it's PG-13 and you show like all these people like, you know, dying, but you're not allowed to see the blood or the actual impalements. So PG-13, you can't actually show it. While it was with R ratings, you were allowed to show way more than that. But yeah, that's just me. But yeah, that's just those problems that I have with Bloodshot. But actually, I like the movie. It's way better than the critics say, but it is nowhere near being one of the best all-time action movies or even comic book movies of all time. If you're just looking for a fun time at the theater, well, what's left at the theaters, but if you're just looking for a fun movie to watch, then Bloodshot would be fine. Vin Diesel actually gives a pretty solid performance as Ray Garrison. I actually really liked Eiza Gonzalez, I think is her name, who played KT. I thought she was really cool. I really liked her for the brief little bit of her that we got in Hobbs and Shaw. And I also really liked her when she played Santantico Pandemonium in the From Dusk Till Dawn TV series. I thought she was really good in that. I'm forgetting what his name is, but I know he's from Outlander. I really enjoyed his character and this whole sort of extended arms that he also has too as well. I also really liked Wiggins. I thought he was also really funny too. I thought he actually brought some good... There were actually some good comedy moments that he did bring to it. And the action was actually surprisingly really well done. The two sequences in particular that were the highlights for me were, of course, near the beginning of the movie, in which it's the opening scene... No, not the opening scene. It's after he ends up getting his memories back, or so he thinks, and he goes to murder the man, and everything is covered in flour, and they use flares in order to be able to see everything, and there's this red tinge to everything. And then Ray's just mowing down guys, like just mowing them down. And there's one scene that which you saw in the trailer, which I also really wish the fact that they didn't show much in the trailer, because why is it that in so many modern day movies they always show what happens in the movie, so much what happens in the trailer? It's ridiculous. But anyways, there's the moment in which Vin Diesel's character gets shot, and then you see the bits and pieces of flesh that just blow off his face, and then you see the nanites are starting to reattach everything, and then he just goes and just tries to shoot them again. Like, that's actually really well done. And then, of course, there's the ending fight scene in which he fights off everybody else, and it's actually really well done, too. Really handled well. And I think for a directorial debut, I think David S.F. Wilson actually did a pretty decent job. I think he does have a very keen eye for visuals and other things like that. Overall, Bloodshot is a fun Vin Diesel action vehicle that honestly doesn't require you to think too much. There are certainly problems, yes, but it's actually a very fun film. But as a adaptation of one of my favorite characters of Valiant, probably one of their best characters, I honestly feel like it could have been a lot more. But that's just me. So I'm going to give Bloodshot a 6 out of 10. Now, with the whole coronavirus situation currently going on right now, I am going to be posting a video later on soon that is going to be the update of this channel, because a lot of movies that I was planning on reviewing this year got postponed, so you may not see much content from me going forward for a few months. I'll explain that later on in another video. But for the time being, I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, stay gold.